Hello, today is Season 3 update day for Call of Duty, for Modern Warfare 2, for Warzone, for DMZ. They're all getting their Season 3 update today, and the patch notes just went live. Which also means the embargo is up for things we learned on the Creator Call. So in this video, I want to go through some of the things they spoke about on the Creator Call that might be in today's patch notes, and a few things that I think are kind of teases for things in the future that might not quite have made it in. In this video, as a quick heads up, there will be some stuff that's kind of things that the developers have teased to us that I think maybe some people will consider spoilers, maybe some people would like to see it showing up in a trailer or something like that. So if you're a bit like me and you really don't want to see any spoilers or anything like that, maybe give this video a miss. But if you want to see everything that was kind of hinted at in the Creator Call, carry on watching and enjoy. So, without any further ado, let's get started. First of all, Gunfight. Just a little snippet here. I know there was a big reveal of Gunfight. You know, it's got 4 maps coming with it at launch. It's going to have the mode where you pick up weapons and stuff like that coming sometime later in the season. But one thing they didn't mention in the blogs was that there's actually going to be new maps coming every season's Gunfight. This isn't going to be something like Champions Hill that we had in Vanguard, where they just kind of leave it and never update it. They've kind of committed, in the Creators Call at least, to bringing at least one new map every season for Gunfight. I know we've probably only got like 2 more seasons left of the game, maybe 3, I guess. But at least we know we're going to be getting new Gunfight maps in the future. And that's particularly exciting for me because last time Infinity Ward did Gunfight, they had little Easter eggs in every single one of the extra maps that came. So fingers crossed that we're going to be getting something like that in future. Now, moving on to Warzone. Obviously, one of the big things that people have been excited about that I'm kind of not very excited about, I think it's maybe a bad idea, are the one-shot kill snipers. Now, this will probably be explained in the patch notes, but we know a little bit more about how this is going to work. Essentially, some sniper rifles are going to have one-shot capability only with explosive rounds. So that means it's probably going to take quite a hit to things like bullet velocity. It's probably going to even take a hit to range, maybe. It's going to be quite hard to do, I think. It's not going to be as easy as using like the Kar 98 and getting a headshot back in Warzone 1. But yeah, you are going to be able to get one-shot snipers, but only with those explosive rounds. Now, it'll be interesting to see how long they stick with that, whether they branch it out to also being like incendiary rounds, whether they end up making it so maybe the new intervention ends up being a one-shot sniper. But for now, that's how it's going to work. Hopefully, it'll make them really hard to use, because I do think the big problem with one-shot snipers is just that it's never fun to get shot by one. It's never fun to be like kind of minding your own business, maybe transitioning into a different piece of cover, maybe moving into the zone, and have someone that you didn't even know they were there just taking a single shot and managing to take you out of the game. That sucks, particularly in solos where you don't even get a chance for someone to revive you or buy you back. That would be horrible, but they're in the game for better or worse. Another thing that they really talked about in Warzone that they wanted to change with this update is movement. They wanted to make it a lot more fluid, they wanted to make it feel a bit better. So they talked specifically about polishing the mantle animations. So when you're going through windows, it should be a lot smoother. You should just be able to run up to a window, hop, jump through, and keep on moving. Rather than at the moment, sometimes like windows are a bit too high. Sometimes you bounce off them a bit. Sometimes it takes quite a while to get through a window. That should all be a lot faster. They also talked about sliding being faster and longer. So I think this is quite a small change, but when you slide, it's going to be a quicker slide. Being able to slide around a corner is actually going to be a bit more of an advantage. Now, they did say, in response to someone asking a question, would you be able to shoot while sliding? And someone said yes. Now, they didn't make a big deal of this. It wasn't on a slide or anything like that, but it's worth trying out. I'm not confirming this, but it sounded like you're going to be able to shoot while sliding now. So that'll be really interesting to try that out. They also said you'll be able to fire much quicker after diving. So if you like dive into a room and then start shooting, you should be able to start shooting much faster, making the dolphin dive maybe a little bit more useful. Now, there's a few other changes to Warzone, quite a lot actually, that were just kind of little things they talked about on the call, but I'm not sure if they're going to be in the patch notes or not. So I'm going to run through these fairly fast. First of all, pro tuning is not going to be removed just because you change one attachment. So if you've used any blueprints, you'll know when you try to start editing them, like you just want to take an attachment off, like you don't like the scope or you want to add a suppressor or something, it comes up with a message saying pro tuning has been removed. That's not going to happen anymore. Now what's going to happen is that when you changed one attachment, it's just going to obviously lose the pro tuning for that particular attachment, but all of the others will stay the same, which is probably a good thing. I don't know how much people really care about the pro tuning, to be honest. A change for the bomb drone is coming, that's now not going to be able to down fully armored players. So it'll be a little bit like the sniper rifle headshots. If you've got full armor and you're running around, a bomb drone going off next to you will bring you down to low health, but it's not going to kill you. So it's something where you could organize it with a friend, maybe set off the bomb drone just as they're going in, and then it'll make the enemy much weaker for them, but it's not going to be able to completely kill people like it does at the moment. I think that's probably a good change. I still don't really understand why the bomb drone can see through walls. I feel like that would be a more obvious change to it, is just make it so, yeah, it's powerful, but you can't find enemies from it. It's only useful against an enemy where you know exactly where they are. The time to kill is another thing that they've talked about slowing down. It'll be interesting to see how this translates to in-game, because time to kill obviously encompasses loads of different things. But they've said the time to kill is slowed down, particularly on close range encounters. So they're trying to make it so those close range encounters last a little bit longer. You've got a bit more time to try and outplay people. They talked about one of the things that makes a big difference here is changing the red flash when you get hit. That a lot of the time, especially if you don't know an enemy's there, as soon as you start getting shot, the whole screen flashes red and it's quite hard to work out what's going on. And then by the time that effect has faded, you're already dead. So they're going to tone that down a lot, so the red flash is a lot quicker, maybe a lot less strong. So when you're in those close range fights, you should have a bit more of a chance to react. That's the idea, at least. I think like they were saying that they haven't really finished sorting this out, so it's something that will probably be looked at like going into the mid-season and beyond. Now, something that I'm super excited about, as long as the player numbers are reduced a bit, is Ashika Resurgence private games. We're going to be able to play private games on Ashika Island. Hopefully, it won't need 50 players to start a private game, because that's what you need at the moment, which is quite a lot. Like, that's a lot of players to start a private game. But we're also getting a couple of other things for private games, like private match spectating. You're going to be able to start a private match as a spectator. That's going to be huge for custom tournaments and things like that. Having someone who's a spectator who can go through all of the different feeds rather than having to rely on people's streams and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that in World Series of Warzone. They'll actually be able to hop directly between people's streams rather than, well, between people's perspectives rather than having to use people's streams. So that should be huge. They also talked about there being a new Champions Quest reward. So this is the Nuke Quest. You know, if you get 5 wins and then you do the Nuke Quest, apparently there's going to be a new reward for that. They didn't say what it was. I don't know if that's going to be like a new calling card or a skin or a blueprint or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a blueprint, because I don't think you get one of those at the moment. So another thing is apparently a new black site location. I think they said in the northeast of the map. I'm not sure if they meant in the northwest, because isn't there already a couple in the northeast? Like the post office is kind of up there, and the police academy can be a black site too, can't it? I think they may be meant in the northwest, or I just wrote it down wrong. But yeah, new black site location, quite a small change, but it's something. There's going to be some new points of interest in Ashika. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is for day 1 of Season 3. I think it is. But they said there's going to be a new cargo ship and a new submarine that you can go on to in the port in Ashika. So you know that big sort of empty water area where there's kind of some barriers but nothing much else. There's going to be some more stuff in there for you to fight on, which is always a good thing. And I think they said coming mid-season, there's going to be some new point of interest updates in Al Mazrah. So I don't think there's anything coming at the beginning of Season 3, but later in the season, we are going to see some stuff changing in Al Mazrah. Now, in Warzone, you're getting the new tempered plate carrier, which might have been mentioned in the blog before. One thing that I didn't see them mention was the new Stronghold mission in Battle Royale. So when you're doing the Strongholds in Battle Royale, it's not always just going to be the bomb defusal. There might be other things to do. They didn't really go into detail. They didn't elaborate on what that's going to be. Maybe it'll be like rescuing a hostage like in DMZ, something like that. But there's going to be other things to do in order to complete those Strongholds. So when you go in, maybe it'll be like a bit of a surprise, like you break the doors open and then it tells you what you need to do. There's going to be a couple of contract changes as well. Most Wanted supply drops, you know, when you complete a Most Wanted. I think a lot of people don't realize it actually drops a supply drop for you with some stuff in it. Anyway, it does. And now that's going to be visible for absolutely everyone, not just the team that did the Most Wanted contract. So now it's like, you know, a bit of competition for doing that. Also, the Intel missions where you have to like go and get the laptop, then upload the laptop information. That's just going to be one step now. I assume it's just going to the computers and standing by while you upload the information, rather than having to go do that middle bit. They just want people to actually use the Intel missions a little bit more. On top of that, there's going to be a bunch more pacing changes, like decreasing the delay time between circles, just to sort of speed up the mid-game, so you're not waiting ages between circles 1 and 2 and 3. I think that's going to be quite good because the mid game at the moment in Warzone 2 is pretty slow. So they're going to try and change that up a little bit. There's going to be more ammo caches, so more places to get ammo. I know I find myself running out of ammo all of the time, so that's a pretty cool thing. There's going to be more buy stations because, you know, they've already made it so they're static, they're always in the same place. They're going to make it so there's more of them, which is a really, really good thing. Again, a lot of the time, depending on where the circle goes, you end up in a situation where there's no buy stations in the circle, so anyone who's dead is just like, oh, I'm not going to have anything to do for the rest of this game, which kind of sucks. So yeah, more buy stations to try and prevent that a little bit. They talked about spawn protection times being reduced a bit. I find that very annoying in Resurgence, where people are dropping in and they're basically invincible until they're right on top of you, which can be really, really frustrating. And it's kind of, it'd be nice to be able to shoot people who are obviously coming towards you. So I don't think that's going to be a huge change, but it means when people are getting close to the ground, you're going to be able to shoot them a bit quicker. One thing that they talked about that's actually quite a huge thing, I think, even though it sounds minor, is when someone pings something and it's a long way away from you. At the moment, it doesn't appear on the minimap at all. Now, it's going to appear on the minimap kind of locked to the edge of it, so it at least shows you the direction they're talking about. So that's going to be really useful when you're pinging like a place that you're going to drive to or something like that. You'll at least be able to see the direction of it. And then as you get closer, obviously, it will come from the edge of the minimap onto the actual location. The advanced UAV is going to have a better way of distinguishing AI from players, which is really good. You know, the normal UAV, you have a separate icon, like a hollow one for AI and a full one for players. Same sort of thing for the advanced UAV, which would be good. The heavy chopper is returning, and I know in the blog post they talked about that in DMZ, but now that's going to also be happening in Warzone. So they talked about heavy chopper coming back to Warzone, but it's going to need its own special fuel. So I don't know if it's going to be like DMZ where you have to kind of go and gather the fuel from the airport before you can use a heavy chopper. Maybe that's going to be a thing, or maybe the fuel will just be everywhere. But you're going to need your own special fuel to keep that heavy chopper going, which at least will make it a bit harder to use the heavy chopper like later into games of Warzone. Another change is that all squads can see the black site key when it's dropped. So it's not just the team that completed a stronghold that will be able to see the black site key. Anyone going in will be able to see that, which is quite useful when you're stealing the stronghold from someone. And then finally for Warzone, there's going to be some improved rewards for the data heist, which is that thing on Ashika Island where near the end of the game, like 3 stations appear, and if you hold them, you get some stuff. They're improving the rewards for that. And the sea treasure, which are the vending machines and the gas stations. Those are going to have better rewards. And the sea lion, which I'm super happy about. So if you go to all of that trouble of getting fish, feeding the fish to the sea lion, you're going to get some better rewards from that. So that was a lot of things. That was everything in Warzone. Now on to DMZ. There's 3 things for DMZ, and I think they're all pretty interesting. First of all, not a change, but just an explanation. They talked about there not being a refresh on this. You're not going to lose any mission progress or anything like that going in Season 3. But interestingly to me, they said that's because when they did it before, they had to do it because of Ashika Island. So they specifically said they had to do the mission refresh to bring Ashika Island online. Now, I thought that was really interesting. They didn't really elaborate. I'm not sure if that's something to do with like them adding some of the missions, changing some missions or anything like that. But it does make me think maybe they will be able to change some missions in future without doing that. But also, does it mean whenever they add a new map to DMZ where the missions are going to, are they then going to have to do a complete refresh whenever that happens? That's something where they didn't clarify it. They didn't really explain any more than that, but I thought that was interesting. A second thing was someone was asking about night vision goggles being used in DMZ. Someone was saying, oh, is there going to be like a darkness mode for DMZ or something like that? They said you are going to use the night vision goggles, but not for a limited time mode or anything like that, not for a specific mode. And it sounded to me like they were hinting that there's going to be some tunnels in Al Mazrah where you're going to use the night vision goggles. So it sounded a lot like they were hinting at this. Again, this is not confirmation, but it sounded like they were teasing that there's going to be some tunnels under Al Mazrah, probably later in the season, mid-season, something like that. And you're going to need the night vision goggles to go in there. I think that would be awesome if there was a set of tunnels under Al Mazrah where it was pitch black. So you either had to go in with maybe like torches on your guns, or you had to find some night vision goggles first, and then you could go into the tunnels and do something in there. That would be super cool. Like, that would be really exciting. I'm quite hyped about the possibility for that. And then finally, they said, and this is probably the biggest thing, that they want to do new exclusion zones, that there are maps coming. The way they said it made it sound like there's maps coming probably sooner rather than later. Don't know if that would be mid-season, season 3, or whether that would be beginning of season 4, something like that. But it definitely sounded like we're getting new exclusion zones soon, so we're getting new DMZ maps. They're not done just using Ashika Island, Building 21, and Al Mazrah. So that's super exciting that we're going to get those new maps, but then a little bit worrying that is that going to trigger a mission refresh? Like, is that going to mean they have to reset everything again? Who knows at this point? Anyway, if you enjoyed this, if you found this interesting, don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing. Let me know in the comments what you're excited about for Season 3, and I will see you in the stream as soon as it goes live. So see you soon. Goodbye.